Welcome to History Explained, where we illuminate the past to better understand our present. I'm your guide to your daily journey through the past to empower the future. Today is Tuesday, June 24, 2025. As we do every Tuesday, we're exploring the life and legacy of an influential individual whose impact continues to resonate through time. Today, we turn our attention to Alexander the Great, one of history's most remarkable military leaders and empire builders. In just 13 years of campaigning, this young Macedonian king conquered most of the known world, creating an empire that stretched from Greece to India and fundamentally transforming the ancient world. What makes Alexander particularly fascinating is how he combined military genius with cultural vision, not merely conquering territories but spreading Greek civilization and creating a new Hellenistic world that would influence art, science, philosophy, and politics for centuries. So let's explore the extraordinary life of Alexander the Great, examining his formative years, his unprecedented military campaigns, his vision of cultural fusion, and his lasting impact on world history. Alexander was born in 356 BCE in Pella, the capital of Macedonia, to King Philip II and Queen Olympias. Macedonia at this time was a rising power in the Greek world but was still considered somewhat barbaric by the established Greek city-states like Athens and Sparta. Philip II had transformed Macedonia into a formidable military power through innovative tactics and superior organization. His creation of the Macedonian phalanx, featuring longer spears and better coordination than traditional Greek formations, gave Macedonia significant advantages in battle. Alexander's education was extraordinary for its time. At age 13, he was tutored by the philosopher Aristotle, who introduced him to literature, science, medicine, and philosophy. This education gave Alexander both practical knowledge and intellectual curiosity that would serve him throughout his conquests. From Aristotle, Alexander developed a love of Homer's Iliad and identified himself with the hero Achilles. He reportedly slept with a copy of the epic under his pillow and saw his own campaigns as continuing the legendary Greek tradition of heroic warfare. Alexander's character showed early signs of greatness. When he was 10, he tamed a wild horse named Bucephalus that no one else could handle, demonstrating both courage and insight. This horse would carry him through many of his greatest victories and became legendary in its own right. In 336 BCE, Philip II was assassinated at his daughter's wedding, and Alexander, at age 20, inherited the Macedonian throne. His succession was not guaranteed, as several rivals challenged his claim, but Alexander quickly demonstrated the decisiveness that would characterize his reign. Alexander's first task was securing his position in Greece. When Thebes rebelled against Macedonian rule, Alexander responded with devastating force, destroying the city and selling its population into slavery. This harsh example convinced other Greek cities to submit without resistance. With Greece secured, Alexander turned to his father's planned invasion of the Persian Empire. In 334 BCE, he crossed the Hellespont with approximately 35,000 troops, beginning one of history's most remarkable military campaigns. Alexander's first major victory came at the Battle of Granicus River, where he defeated a Persian force and demonstrated the tactical brilliance that would define his campaigns. He personally led the cavalry charge, nearly losing his life but inspiring his troops through his courage. The conquest of Asia Minor proceeded rapidly, with many cities surrendering without resistance. Alexander's policy of treating conquered peoples with respect, often incorporating local customs and leaders into his administration, proved more effective than the harsh rule typical of ancient conquerors. The decisive confrontation with Persian King Darius III came at the Battle of Issus in 333 BCE. Despite being outnumbered, Alexander's tactical genius and personal leadership resulted in a crushing victory. Darius fled the battlefield, leaving behind his family, who Alexander treated with honor and respect. After Issus, Alexander turned south toward Egypt, conquering the Phoenician cities along the coast. The siege of Tyre, lasting 7 months, demonstrated Alexander's persistence and innovative siege techniques. His engineers built a causeway to the island city, fundamentally altering the coastline. In Egypt, Alexander was welcomed as a liberator from Persian rule and was declared pharaoh. He founded the city of Alexandria, which would become one of the ancient world's greatest centers of learning and commerce. The city's location demonstrated Alexander's strategic vision for connecting different parts of his empire. Alexander's visit to the Oracle of Ammon in the Egyptian desert resulted in his being declared the son of Zeus Ammon, reinforcing his growing belief in his divine nature. This religious endorsement strengthened his authority while also contributing to his increasing megalomania. The final confrontation with Darius came at the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BCE. Alexander faced the largest Persian army ever assembled, but his tactical innovations and superior discipline resulted in another decisive victory. Darius again fled, and Alexander became master of the Persian Empire. The conquest of Persia's heartland followed quickly. Alexander captured Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, the ceremonial capital of the Persian Empire. The burning of Persepolis, whether intentional or accidental, symbolized the end of Persian power and the beginning of Alexander's rule over Asia. As Alexander penetrated deeper into Asia, his character began to change. He adopted Persian court customs, wore Persian dress, and demanded prostration from his subjects, shocking his Macedonian companions who were accustomed to more egalitarian relationships. Alexander's vision extended beyond mere conquest to cultural fusion. He encouraged marriages between his soldiers and local women, married Persian nobility himself, and promoted qualified Persians to high positions in his administration. This policy of fusion created the Hellenistic civilization that would dominate the eastern Mediterranean for centuries. The campaign in India from 327–325 BCE represented both Alexander's greatest ambitions and his ultimate limitations. After crossing the Indus River and defeating King Porus at the Battle of Hydaspes, Alexander wanted to continue eastward to the Ganges River and beyond. However, his troops, exhausted after years of campaigning and facing monsoon rains and war elephants, finally refused to march further. This mutiny at the Hyphasis River marked the only time Alexander was forced to turn back, demonstrating that even the greatest leaders depend on their followers' support. The return journey through the Gadrosian Desert was catastrophic, with thousands of troops dying from heat, thirst, and disease. This disaster tarnished Alexander's reputation for invincibility and may have contributed to the growing discontent among his followers. Back in Babylon, Alexander planned new campaigns against Arabia and possibly the western Mediterranean. However, on June 10, 323 BCE, at the age of 32, he died suddenly after a brief illness. The exact cause remains disputed, with theories ranging from poisoning to malaria to excessive drinking. Alexander's death created an immediate succession crisis. With no clear heir and no established system for choosing a successor, his empire quickly fragmented among his generals, known as the Diadochi or successors. The resulting kingdoms, Ptolemaic Egypt, Seleucid Asia, and Antigonid Macedonia, would dominate the ancient world for centuries. Despite its political fragmentation, Alexander's cultural legacy proved more enduring. The Hellenistic civilization that emerged from his conquests blended Greek, Persian, Egyptian, and Indian elements, creating new forms of art, philosophy, science, and religion. The city of Alexandria became the ancient world's greatest center of learning, housing the famous library and museum where scholars like Euclid, Archimedes, and Eratosthenes made groundbreaking discoveries. This intellectual flowering was a direct result of Alexander's vision of cultural fusion. Alexander's military innovations influenced warfare for centuries. His use of combined arms tactics, siege warfare techniques, and logistical organization became models for future commanders. His emphasis on mobility and decisive leadership inspired military leaders from Julius Caesar to Napoleon. The spread of Greek language and culture throughout Alexander's former empire facilitated trade, communication, and intellectual exchange across vast distances. Greek became the lingua franca of the Eastern Mediterranean, enabling the spread of ideas and the development of new philosophical and religious movements. Alexander's legend grew after his death, inspiring countless stories, histories, and artistic works. The Alexander Romance, a collection of fantastical stories about his adventures, was translated into dozens of languages and spread his fame from Western Europe to Southeast Asia. Modern historians debate Alexander's true character and achievements. Some see him as a visionary who created the first truly cosmopolitan civilization, while others view him as a megalomaniacal conqueror whose wars caused immense suffering. Both perspectives contain elements of truth. Alexander's influence on subsequent history is undeniable. The Roman Empire built upon Hellenistic foundations. Christianity spread through Greek-speaking communities established by Alexander's conquests, and Islamic civilization later absorbed and transmitted Hellenistic learning to medieval Europe. Alexander the Great remains one of history's most compelling figures, a young man who changed the world through military genius, cultural vision, and sheer force of personality. His story continues to fascinate us because it embodies both human potential and human limitations. Thank you for joining us for this exploration of Alexander the Great. Tomorrow, we'll be back with our World Events episode examining the Marshall Plan and its crucial role in rebuilding post-war Europe and containing Soviet expansion. If you enjoyed this journey through history, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. What aspects of Alexander's life and legacy do you find most remarkable or relevant today? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, I'm your guide for History Explained, where we believe that understanding yesterday is the key to navigating tomorrow.